See. Oh, yes. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. This is your host, Vinney Chopra, right here from San Francisco Bay Area. Thank you so much for joining. I hope we have so many great people who gave us great comments in the last broadcast that we do every week. As you know, Friday, 7:30. Oh, 7:30. What am I talking about? 9:30. 9:30. I got up at 4:45 today. So that's why, this is half day already done. I enjoy that. But the thing is, 9:30, please put your notifications on so that you could join us and really look into some great aspects of real estate, of mortgage, of loans, and talk about personal development. That's what our show is about. Welcome, Beau. How are you, bud? Good morning.
Doing well, doing well. Just it's amazing how during this COVID thing, it's all the days go so fast. They go even faster now. It seems like it's I don't know.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I mean, started yesterday. I started at about 6:30. I was giving my last presentation to my very good investors from your backyard, Indianapolis, buddy. Husband and wife met me. They've been a great people, and they have invested with me 500,000, 300,000, 500,000, and they said, Vinny, we are selling some stuff. We're going to be putting with you again. So it's exciting to see that a lot more opportunities will be coming. And actually we have a great guest today. Actually, I want to introduce Thomas. Hi, Thomas. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Awesome. And I've come to know Thomas in last 1 year or so, and I'm so fortunate to meet him and his partner Brent. And actually, let me introduce Thomas before we go further. And Thomas is a business owner, property manager, and a syndicator and licensed real estate agent in Los Angeles. Actually, he is well known and respected for his comfort level in working with a diverse group of backgrounds, all kinds of people, areas of responsibility, and employment levels. Thomas spent 7 years at Keller Williams Realty. Hey, we know a lot of people who have been with Keller Williams, don't we, Beau? Right?
Hmm.
And he gained experience in all aspects of the property management, real estate, and leasing. He enjoyed his work, but aspired to open a boutique style property management company that was specifically focused on financial transparency. That's huge, huge. Transparency and honesty and everything is so huge in any kind of business. Style property management that was specifically focused on financial transparency as well as day to day contact with owners, with tenants, and the brokers. In 2007, almost 13 years back, he and his colleague, Brent Parsons, established Power Property Management with a portfolio of four properties only. And then today, the company manages more than 100 properties and 3,000 units from Long Beach to Santa Barbara. Most exciting, PPM is now expanding their reach throughout the United States. So I am so excited to have you, and I know boys too, Thomas. We're going to really dig into and kind of give us some idea. You grew up and kind of take us back. Your work ethic is so strong, and how you're building businesses, a visionary. Kind of take us back a little bit. Yeah.
So I grew up in Los Angeles, been in LA kind of my whole life, and decided to kind of get into real estate early on. At the time, it was more or less, I didn't really know much about it, so I decided to work with a buddy of mine at the time who was a real estate broker. He helped me get, real estate license and kind of go through that whole motion. That's actually where I met Brent early on in our career. Both of us happened to be getting our real estate license kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
So we did some residential real estate early on, and that's when, right before the market dipped, we decided, hey, in I think 2006, 2005, 2006, we decided, hey, I think maybe it's a good time to diversify a little bit and get into some multifamily, some property management, and this is kind of where we are now. You know, a little bit of property management, a little bit of investment, a little bit of kind of you name it, we do it. A hat that we tend to wear when it comes to the property management world.
Excellent, excellent. Property management, I would like to tell the audience, is one field that takes lot of drive, lot of ups and downs. Go, because I've been managing all my 28 syndications, and so forth, and we always felt that we can control the costs, right? I mean, why did you decide to get into property management? What were some of the reasons?
Well, so we purchased a 4-unit building,
Mhm.
and keep in mind we're in kind of the prime LA market where everything tends to be 10 times the price of what it should be anywhere else. So we purchased a small 4-unit building, and I remember we were looking through the management financials, and for like a small 1-bedroom, they had charged like $1,700 for painting a small 1-bedroom.
Wow.
I said that doesn't even sound right. Called the person at the time. Oh, it was a bad paint. It smelled really bad, like smoke, this and that. So fast forward a little bit, we went out there, took a look at the unit. It wasn't even painted.
Oh,
So we were just getting ripped off.
huh.
So at that point, we were like, well, let's start managing it ourselves. We took it on ourselves, and I'm one of those guys where I'm either in or I'm out. I don't really like to, excuse my French, half-ass anything.
Yeah.
Uh, so, we got the software, and we're managing this small little property, and before you know it, we just kind of kept growing. And I really do like the piece puzzling and fixing problems, and I think it helps my ADD kind of stay focused. So every day is a new day, and I think COVID-19 sure is teaching us things that we never thought were possible. I mean, you hear people, oh, I've been through so many downturns.
Yeah.
Until you've been through a COVID-19, you haven't been through nothing. I mean, this is management. If you can manage and get through COVID-19 times, I have a feeling we can overcome anything.
I see. I hear you. I hear you because we are also facing that. I don't own any properties in California right now, but in Texas, Georgia, Florida, all the places. But share with us, Thomas, what are maybe 3 things that really you feel like, or maybe more than that, that you had to relearn or do with your management style or collecting of all that stuff, right? It all boils down to we cannot evict people and all that, right? Same thing.
Right, right. I think the problem lies right now with the fact that there are, like in anything in this world, property management or not, there are people that are taking advantage and exploiting the situation.
Mhm, mhm.
And if I could tell any pool of tenants anything, it would be, I feel so awful that this is going on. I wish all of us could do more to help fix it.
Mhm.
But I wish that we can all work together to stop the exploiting and the fraud that's going on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's not just to COVID-19 times. There unfortunately with anything, right? There's people that are, I mean, crap. There are people who are buying 10,000 packets of toilet paper just so they can turn
Yeah.
around and sell it for $1 more. So there's always people exploiting situations. Um, but I think that's really been the hardest thing. A lot of our owners call, and when we're talking to them, they completely understand that people can't pay their rent. Um, but they're like, well, how are we preventing fraud? And you know, it's a fine line. It's really hard to be able to tell. And I think that our government has really handcuffed us in
Mhm.
California And not to go into a political thing, but I think our government has really handcuffed us here in California to a point where, they stand up there and they say, don't worry about getting evicted, don't worry about paying rent. And that kind of takes me to the next thing. That's not the reality. The reality is that the rent still has to get paid. The rent still will have to get paid. And if you're getting a stimulus plan, if you're getting unemployment, which, most people who are applying for unemployment are getting close to $4,500 a month right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I'm not saying I'm all for the federal government or for local government or for anything. I'm just saying I do feel that some of the federal stimulus plans are starting to help. $4,500 is a big chunk of money when you're paying, when somebody's collecting that. So to kind of go into the next thing is I think one of the biggest struggles from being able to maneuver through the fraudulent BS to true compassion. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans. It doesn't matter if you're Warren Buffett or, unfortunately, the homeless guy around the corner. We're all susceptible to COVID-19,
Yeah.
and we're all susceptible to dying from it, right? So there's a human compassion level throughout this whole thing. And I sat down with my employees early on in March, and well, that's an open-ended question. I Zoomed with my employees.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Sat down with them, but I Zoomed with my employees early on, and I said to them, I said, I understand the state and the laws over this whole period of time have taught us to be so aggressive and cutthroat, and you don't pay your rent, we file eviction. I said, and this was way before any of these laws and eviction moratorium was out. I said, let's have compassion.
Yep.
Let's
Totally.
have compassion for our fellow man, our fellow woman. And when we're talking to them, let's stop, take a deep breath, and give them a chance to talk. Because you never know if that's all somebody really wants.
Yeah.
They just need an ear to talk to. And everybody's scared. I mean, I'm scared. I got 3 kids. I'm terrified. I go home. I work every day. So we're considered essential business. I go home every day and I'm exposing my family to all sorts of unknowns.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what's gotten us by, and what's gotten us to be as, as I don't know if the term successful is the right term, but I mean, let's talk about numbers. Yesterday, about right around the end of April, I was asked to fill out a survey by a prominent bank, nationwide bank, and they handpicked a few people around Southern California to fill out like rent surveys and kind of where things are at, so they can more or less get a grasp of is it really as bad as everybody's saying it is, And on April 30th, our delinquency rate was 2.4%. Okay.
That's not bad. Yeah.
It's not bad. It's usually between 1% to 2%. So, you chalk that up. It's not bad at all.
Sure.
As of yesterday, our delinquency rate was around 14%.
14. Wow.
So, and that's on the 7th day of the month.
Yeah.
So I went back and I looked back at the delinquency report, and the reason I think why Vinney and I tend to get along is you can make anything look as pretty as you want, but at the end of the day, stats are stats and numbers are numbers, right?
Yep.
So I went back and I looked at the 7th of May, and we were right around 12% for the 7th. I'm sorry, 7th of April. We were around.
Sure.
Yeah, we were around 12%.
Yeah.
So we're slightly off. We do a good amount of volume. So every 0.5% is a big dollar amount. It's not a small dollar amount. But I think we're going to be okay. I think overall, having compassion, having care for each other.
Yeah.
And like I said early on, the fraud's the fraud. There's nothing we can do. They've handcuffed us. And you know, at the end of the day, we'll just let it be. We'll let it ride out. And when the people who are committing the fraud can't pay the rent, and it's pretty funny. You know who those people are pretty early on, right? You
Hmm.
call them, hey, how are you? We just want to check on you. Oh, don't call me. You know, I'm
Hmm.
protected. And then you
Oh,
pull up to the building, and
that's
they're,
the
you know,
tone. Yeah.
right. They're throwing out a 70-inch television in the trash can, right? A box in the trash can. It's like, all right, whatever. It is what it
They're
is.
buying, yeah, yeah. And the big thing also, Thomas, is that owners like you and I and others, we are not going to be forgiven the mortgage, not at all.
Right.
It's just
Right.
they are giving us 90 days or whatever, but then you have to bring more rents in to be able to pay that extra 1/12 or 1/10 or whatever, right, of
Right.
the mortgage. You're right.
Right.
But let's dig into some more issues. Bo, what would you like to ask Thomas? What's on your mind?
Um, I, I'm just wondering. I'll be curious, towards the end of the month, what those numbers look like. I think that's going to be the real indicator. Um, and it seems like it's not as bad rent collections nationally as I would have thought by now. But I think the end of May will be a good indicator.
Mhm.
Um, and with unemployment so high, depending on what kind of asset class you manage, right, or you own, I think you're like in the lower C type properties, you're going to get the working class, and you're going to have more delinquencies there than people that are in have jobs where they can work out of their house and things like that. So I don't know. I just think that it, you kind of think it's not really going to be that bad, and then also you look at other stats like 30 million people unemployed, then you go, well, we were just at before COVID, what we're at 2 or 3 million.
It was
So,
very low. Yeah.
so the time to absorb, when COVID slows down. The other thing is now they're starting to release in some states. People are starting to go back to work,
Mhm.
but will it be an uptick of the coronavirus, which doesn't appear like it spread as bad as people would have thought it would, but that'll be the indicator. And then if people have to go back and stay at home again, then I think that's where our economy will get really bad. But
Like a W, right? Some people are thinking it's not going to be like a V or a U. It might be a W, and that will be the worst thing can happen. I mean, it can go second time around, right? I know government is printing money like crazy. How many trillions of dollars now? How many trillions?
trillions.
We just say trillions. But the worst thing was, like you just alluded to that, right, Thomas? I mean, the people who got that PPP money, I mean, I have a big bone to pick with. All these large companies got their millions, 10 million. I think it was 10 million was the maximum you could get as a loan. But then some had two branches or three, they split it up. But the banks also don't make that much money from what I heard. Bo, is that right? So they would rather do a larger transaction and get paid on that amount rather than doing small one. Am I wrong on that,
Well,
Bo?
I think they were getting a 5% fee. So
Okay.
think about any volume. So all those banks just switched their gears and they started trying to broker these deals. So they were making a ton of money, the banks, right? And
Yeah.
then obviously the people with uh, a little bit more savvy, maybe they didn't need the money as much, but they were getting advice from top level people where they were able to get the money. So
Yeah.
really the lower middle class gets shafted again. And I mean, you can't help people for applying if they needed the money and they had staff. But there was just yesterday there was a first case of fraud that the DOJ went after, and these guys applied for PPP money, and they said they had all these employees, didn't have any employees, so they're getting
Oh
so,
my gosh.
so I
Wow.
think it was just an article. So I think you'll see a lot of that going on
Mhm.
eventually as this thing works its way through. But like California right now, I was in California, now I'm a Nevadian. I live out in Henderson, Nevada, which that's another story. I'm getting calls right now from investors from California that's saying, hey, with the casinos all shut down, right? That
Mhm.
employs 30, I don't know, 30% with hospitality or 40% of the local economy. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
if it stays shut down for a long time, Vegas is, I mean, although we have a strong economy in other areas, we're going to get hit hard, right? So
Yeah.
But these articles I'm reading about, like the laws and legislation they're trying to pass in California right now about, you know, cutting rent and doing all this crazy stuff. I don't know. I think it's going to do more harm than good.
Yeah, so yesterday, well, yeah, they're passing laws left and right, and I have a feeling, I think I have a feeling that a lot of these laws will eventually get upheld in the court system. I think right now it's more of a relief style. Let's just kind of throw a bunch of things and see how it goes, and I think a lot of big landlords are going to come in and start filing lawsuits. But at the end of the day, you know, going back to it, it's if somebody truly is affected and they can't pay the rent, what good does any of these lawsuits have?
Yeah.
And kind of going to what Beau is saying, what good is it to evict somebody who's been a good tenant for years at this point, and they truly are affected by COVID-19? The problem in California is you can't even necessarily ask them if they've been affected by COVID-19. So they have supposedly 7 days to notify us from when rent is due that they've been affected by COVID-19, but that doesn't mean anything. So, okay, so take that away. You have a great tenant, John, no pun intended, but John is a great tenant, lives in your unit, has always paid rent on time, never been an issue, you know, is a great part of the community, all of a sudden isn't able to pay rent. Do you really want to go out and evict him, or would you rather try and figure out a way where you can work with him to get him back on track when he is able to get back in the workforce? Because I'll tell you a couple things. Beau, you hit a few things. If we do have an economic slowdown of large proportions, where are you going to find these renters?
Yeah.
Right. So I'd rather have a body in there that I know is a good person than to have, you know, and it's like everything with this COVID-19, right? Do you wear a full body astronaut suit, or do you wear a face mask, wash your hands, and wear gloves, right? It's, you got to find that middle ground with everything, I think, in it. Now, I'm finding something very interesting, Beau, with what you said, where now that we're starting to get back to work, the you know, the C class might not perform as good as B and A class. Well, LA in general has a lot of B plus class, I should say. Very little new construction, although that's starting to change. But we have a lot of value add stuff, and I'm noticing a lot of the value add market rate paying tenants are a lot of the issues right now, where they're paying, you know, I'm just throwing an example out there, $3,000 a month for a 2-bedroom that has been rehabbed, etc. Those are the tenants that are unable to pay rent. We're seeing a lot of those. And and again, I'm only talking about Southern California. So, you know, if other markets are different, I understand. But as the businesses are starting to open up, a lot of the C class tenants are going back to work, right? The restaurants, a lot of construction companies, you know, elective construction companies. So I'm curious to see where things settle at the end of this whole thing. But I think that, like Beau said, May is our big indicator. I truly, truly feel that way. And I was expecting May to be a lot worse. I was losing sleep April 30th. I was like, oh, I don't want tomorrow to come. But it's here, it's in front of us, and I'm blessed because it seems like it's not quite as bad as I anticipated it to be.
Good. No, very good. Yeah, Thomas, you're right about that. We are finding it true also. Somehow I find, of course, the B, you mentioned that also, B plus A, because of the residence profile, it's just been very good that they are able to pay because they have maybe savings, or they have been able to work remotely. They are not laid off, right? Things like that. So that's very true. Let me ask you a question. Can I take you to a new angle about multifamily? You mentioned that you started, and where is your thinking at as we see new demographical shift, with the tsunami, senior tsunami going through our country in USA, and then also millennials who are liking more portability. So what's your, thinking on that frame? Yeah.
Oh man, I that's a question that I have not gone into too much in depth at this point. To be honest with you, Benny, I really am seeing a very steady uptick in continuing uptick in rents right now. I'm still
Mhm.
seeing our company's still leasing out units at record numbers.
Mhm.
So I'm not really seeing much change. I think any change is going to come in July, in
Mhm.
August, where things have kind of settled down. People understand what's going on. People understand the new way of life. And like you said, are we going to have another stay-at-home order in September and October?
Mhm.
I'm not a doctor,
Yeah.
and unlike some government officials who think they're doctors, I'm not in any way
Yeah.
positioned to give any sort of medical advice. But my guess tells me that as a country and as a society, we were not prepared for this
No.
virus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully from now until September or, when it comes back, who knows? Hopefully we are a little bit more prepared.
Sure.
And, you know, every figure that I've heard, every guess that I've heard has fortunately I should say has been wrong.
Hmm.
They said, oh, millions are going to die. We've had, I don't watch the news, by the way. That's my
Yeah.
new thing. It
Mhm.
it has helped me with my stress level unlike no other. I started by taking a weekend off the news and I loved it. And
Mhm.
then I took a week off the news and I loved it. Now I'm like a month into the no news and I'm like, this is great. Um, but I think last I checked, it was like 60,000 people dead, which is awful and all. But at the same time, it's not the millions that we were hearing about.
Lots of people, you're so right. The data gurus and things like that. I mean, they went out like crazy on coronavirus estimations and 10x and 20x or whatever. They looked at that 1 week of, cases and 2 weeks and projected out like doomsday and spread all over, all that news. But you're right. I mean, now we have the facts and a lot of this, the curves have flattened out. Of course,
Right.
so many, 60%, I thought, came from New York. I mean, so if we don't take that take all out New York by itself, then look at all across the nation. I mean, lots and lots of communities, they were not that, badly affected. But again,
Right.
this is something which we never expected. I mean, everything was going hunky dory, right? 3 months back, nobody even imagined that we would be in the lockdown and everybody not able to go out and things like that. But every situation we are accepting. Now, those people who will come out of it as a better person will be the one who accept the situation and then grow from it and do the best to look at how they could do personal development. Like Bo and I've talked about it quite a few times. We could utilize.
Yeah.
I've been busier now than before COVID, to be truthful. I bet you are too, huh?
I so Beau hit something that I thought was funny. We are in escrow to purchase two deals, and just like every other deal, we refinance and we're fixing them up and the whole nine. I can't get my banker to respond, and my banker is on like a text basis with me.
Call
And
Bo.
finally,
Call me.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Thomas, you're going to love this. Let me introduce you publicly to my good friend Bo.
Well played. Well played.
I know.
I love it.
He
Well,
will.
we will
He
definitely
text
have
you
to have a
back
talk.
right away after this visit.
There you go. We'll definitely have a talk. And
I love it.
the thing that I find funny is it, literally I got a text back a couple of days ago, and her response to me was, Thomas, I'm so sorry. This PPP thing has us upside down. She's like, the vice president of the bank is filling out PPP forms for clients. Like it's no longer, what your title is and how she's like, everybody is doing the same thing. And a loan that was supposed to close April 15th,
Yeah.
loan docs are signed, everything is done. We're just sitting around waiting for it to close.
Wow.
And the bank is not ready yet. They have sent a letter out to the escrow officer or title closing officer in that state and said, we will close, just bear with us, we're just a little overwhelmed right now.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Thomas, where do you invest? And can you tell me a little bit about your multifamily experience? So are you investing just in California, or?
So we purchased some stuff in California. We purchased some stuff in Washington. That seems to be our kind of bread and butter right now. We're buying up properties in Washington, fixing them, value add stuff, as well as that's how we got into the syndication world. So we met Vinney back, I want to say, like I said earlier, Brent and we take our time to do something, but once we do something, we're like gorillas about it, right? So I was bored one night, and Brent and I have been talking about doing syndications for years, and Beau, just be ready. Pay attention to Vinney. His head is gonna just start blowing up right now, right? So for years, everybody tells us, "Oh, you guys should syndicate," and I was doing all our property taxes, year-end taxes with our CPA, and he's like, Thomas, these numbers are just ridiculous. You guys really should syndicate. This just doesn't even make sense. You guys your returns are out there. So we've talked about it. We're so busy with everything we got going on. We didn't really want to get into it. Well, one night, and full disclosure, I'm a cigar smoker. So one night I decided to have a cigar in the garage, and I said, hey, you know what? I got to get a book instead of watching the news every night. And let me learn about syndication. So I went on, I said, best syndication book, and boom, Vinney's book popped up, and it had just been released. It was like a week or two after it had been released.
Oh my
So
God.
I ordered it on Amazon. I read that thing, I'm not kidding you, Beau, 3 times in a matter of a week. I was a sponge to it. I remember one day, and my wife's gonna kill me. I live in the suburbs, which is Woodland Hills, and my office is in Culver City. So if you know LA, that's an hour and a half to 2 hour drive each way because of traffic. So at the time there was no audiobook. Fast forward a little bit, I read it 3 times in 1 week. I bought a copy for my business partner. He read it, and I go, I'm calling Vinney. And he was like, you're gonna call the guy who wrote the book? I'm like, we'll find him. So I called him up, and I want to say like 2 days later, we were at his house, and we signed up for his help. I mean, the whole nine. Let's not dabble into the fancy stuff. Let's just get right into it, right?
Totally.
So we did our first syndication. We've done, I think, 3 syndications since October. And all multifamily, all bread and butter, value add stuff. Nothing, nothing huge. Our first one was a mix of rentals and storage units. Our second one was a larger apartment complex on 2.5 acres worth of land. And I think our third one is just some smaller value add building. But we're in the range of 5 to 60 units is what we've seen the most success in, Beau. So we try our best not to anybody market rent. Sorry about that.
No, no.
We try our best not to kick everybody out when we first get in there, obviously, as value add investors. And we go in, we send everybody a letter telling them we're going to be doing major upgrades to the property. We're going to be doing major upgrades to the management. We're going to be doing major upgrades to the units. And we would love for you, Miss Good Tenant, to move into one of our fully redone units.
Sure. Wow.
And a couple things that we've done a little differently that seems to have really worked is when we're negotiating purchases, keep all units vacant. Anybody who is behind, file eviction. So that way we can get some vacant units up front. So we have something to do essentially when we close, besides, watering the plants. But we've seen some good success with these apartments. And I'll tell you, Washington is having almost similar numbers right now to what I'm having here in California. Obviously, it's because I'm implementing the same systems that we have here out there and working with people and setting up payment plans. But so far, Washington has been very, very good to us. I can't complain.
Are you hiring third-party management? Or
I
you
can't
just
hear you guys.
Are you hiring third party in Washington?
Hold on.
No. Oh, okay. Sure. Beau. And no, as I recall, I think they might be. Let's see. We'll ask Thomas. It's really, guys, if you would please give us some questions, we would love to answer. This show is for you, and we do it every Friday, 9:30, unless Beau is going to, travel, or I'm going. Well, we are locked down now. For all the trips have been canceled in my family. I'm sure Beau is too. So, we are here for you. Please give us some comments and tell us what questions you might have that we can answer for you in this show. We try to go 45 minutes to an hour every Friday, 9:30. And again, we are starting a new show also. Oh, sure, Thomas, sure. I was just putting a plug for our new show that we are starting in senior living. Oh my gosh, it's become such a big thing. I just did an interview, which will be out on Monday. Then I just did another interview with a good friend of mine, Joe Fairless. And that was yesterday. I did it on totally senior living. And I am just, again, excited about multifamily, definitely. This is also senior living, which is multifamily, but it's A class, A plus class, I should say, from ground up. That's we are doing, But no, Thomas, let's go back to you. Yeah. So, like you were saying,
management.
Management question. Do you manage yourself in Washington also, or do you work with some property managers there?
We're very blessed. We have a very, very small management company. It's like a 1 or 2 man shop, but he has the full setup. And when we first started working with him, he didn't have the systems in place, and we've kind of helped him. And there's been some hiccups, but overall, like anything in business, he's an honest guy.
Yeah.
And he has our trust and we have his trust, and vice versa. And I think we work through our problems. So would I prefer to have, for example, my assistant able to, give me the reports that I ask for here in the LA market up there? Sure. But we don't. And I think that Washington and California are two of the strictest states when it comes to laws.
Oh, wow.
So I think having a management company here and there, and having the low volume that we have in Washington doesn't make financial sense at this point.
Wow. No, I would really want to thank you, Thomas, for coming. What's your perspective? What are your vision for the next 3 to 5 years, if I may ask, for your company? Yeah.
Well, so back in October, when we started working with this guy that knew a thing or two about syndications, he told us write our write our goals on a wall or on a piece of paper and put it up on the wall and so I tape mine in my closet when I get dressed in the morning, and I tape mine right next to my monitor at my desk, and I look at it every day. And
Yes.
my goal for 2020 is to acquire 100 more units, some health goals, but overall it's to continue to be a better person, in the sense of, if everybody in this world, doesn't matter where you're from, just continues to do one little thing that's better for mankind, I think overall we're going to be okay. I know a lot of people are scared. I know, everybody's just freaked out, but I just tell people we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. Let's just one day we'll hug each other and everything will be just fine. You know what I mean? And so on the multifamily, I personally don't think it's going to be quite as bad as everybody thinks. We leased out 44 units last month.
Yes, sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
no, we can hear you. Yeah. Yeah, we are able to hear you. Right. No, that's okay, Thomas. No problem at all. Technical difficulties happen. No big deal.
You know what's interesting? I bet you, I want to ask him this when he comes back in. I bet, since he has a lot of real estate investors that he's managing for.
All right, there you go. We're back.
Oh, sure, Thomas. No problem. Thank you. Don't worry at all. No, Beau was going to ask you. Yeah, Beau, go ahead, buddy.
So when you did your first syndication, I'm guessing that you have really good relationships with your property owners. So was that who you kind of went to first, saying, "Hey, we're starting to buy in Washington. Are you interested in investing?" I mean, how did you go about your first? Like, what was in your mind to get the boat, to get the ball rolling on syndication as far as raising capital?
So I'm not, the one thing I'm not good at is marketing. I would rather get the statistics out and the numbers out than worry about the marketing. That's just been my thing. Whereas Brent, maybe that's why we get along so well, is much more, he wears the marketing hat. Since 2006, all we've done is grown our database. Can I tell you that our database is solid? Can I tell you what is inside our database? Probably not, but we have over 24,000 people right now inside our database.
Wow.
And so what we did is we blasted it out to a handful of people early on. Our first syndication, we sent it out, I believe, to 6 people. And within about 3 hours, I believe 5 people had responded saying they're in. So we were fully subscribed practically in a matter of 3 hours.
Wow.
So some of those were our service vendors. I mean, as you can imagine, my world, I'm working with attorneys all day, every day. CPAs, doctors, we have a lot of that in our database. So we picked and chose a handful of them. So we haven't necessarily gone out to our entire database, Beau. And I don't know if we necessarily want to at this point, but I think your idea is great in the sense of, if somebody was starting off and they did have a small management company or a management company to market to their database, probably a pretty good route to take. I think I'd like to pick and choose early on who we're in business with, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and so your management company, do you also have a sales department inside your company?
Correct. We got several real estate brokers or real estate agents, I guess, within the company. I haven't done real estate sales in quite a long time. It's just not my. I tend to not have patience for it, but I do. We look at. I look at deals. Can't say I underwrite them, but I look at deals on a regular basis.
Sure. Thomas, so your company can manage other owners' assets, right? And I would like to actually, thanks so much for coming on the show. How can people reach you, or how can they, have a dialogue with you if they want their properties to be managed by your company? in Los
Sure.
Angeles area or in Washington. You're doing
Sure.
so well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. The best way is via our website. It's going to be www.powerpropertymanagement.com. They can also always email me, Thomas at powerpropertygrp.com.
Mhm.
And I'm sure if they reach out to you or Vinney and Beau, you guys are more than welcome to giving them my information.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
No, thank you again. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we appreciate, just the friendship we have developed. I have
I
developed,
agree.
and I'm so tickled that, you chose me, and, we are working together, and, bringing value to so many people. So
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you so much for having me on. And Beau, I expect that text message in the next little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna show you how to get more cash flow, higher leverage, and an assumable loan. So when you go to sell, you can create more value.
I love it. I love
That'll
it,
be
man.
amazing. That'll
That's
be
what we're
amazing.
all looking for.
That's
Yes.
so.
And we can probably do it over a drink in a few months in Vegas.
Yeah, there we go.
Right now, we're just going to do it from the phone. How's that?
Yes, yes. No, again, thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. God bless you. We'll talk to
Thank
you
you
then.
very much. All
Thank
right. Take care.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, Beau, any more things on your mind, buddy? Yeah?
Um, no, I think we that was great. I loved his story.
Yes.
I love the fact that he just basically grabbed your book, read it 3 times, and just called you. You know, obviously he was successful, and he has, he's not, he has money.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I love how he just took massive action, right? And he was at your house a couple days later. That's an amazing story.
No, they booked the flight. I mean, Brent and Thomas. They say, Vinny, we're coming there on Friday. I said, what? I just came to know them on Monday or Tuesday, I think. So action takers. I'm glad you said that. And what Brent, his partner, and Thomas, both of them are quality people. And they came up. We had lunch together. We spent 3.5 hours, 4 hours together at my place. And it's so great to really kind of see who you are working with, right? And many times people overanalyze things, if I may say that. Anybody listening to us, if you're on the brink of making a decision and you just feel like, okay, I don't want to cross this line, I want to take 2 years or 4 years of just sitting on the sideline to take action. That's not right. I mean, a lot of people in this life, they are really watchers. I am sorry to say that, but they are watchers. They are not, they're lookers. They're lookers and watchers, not doers. And there are other people who are in the top 7% in the nation in earnings, or 3% or 10% or 15%, whatever it is. They are the doers. They make decisions. They take that small risk, calculated risk, to learn the new things or what they have been dreaming about, really joining hands with the most successful people around them. But the just not taking that action stops them, right? Massive action, like I always say, and you are also, I'm so proud of. Well, your business is exponentially increasing like crazy. Tell me more about it. I mean, I wanted to get into your mind, as for the last 10 minutes or so, you've done wonders. I mean, so what has shifted? What really made you to take this spectacular growth pattern?
Sure. Well, I mean, I still have a long way to go, but I think at some point you have to realize, and what I realized is I've always been one to learn, to educate myself, to understand the power of personal development. But
Mhm.
there's something else you need to do. You have to take the leap of faith, right? You have to go all in on it, or it's never going to happen. You could sit and learn, like you're saying. I could watch you for days upon days and learn all this stuff. But what good is it if I'm too scared to take a step, too scared to analyze a property, too scared to like write an offer, put an LOI in, too scared. So So what I've done is like, hey, I know I'm really good in the lending space, in the investing space, I'm decent. I'm learning more, obviously, so I can buy multifamily.
Yeah.
But the key is like wherever you are right now, you have to go all in on what you want in life, and it's pretty simple. Most people have the same goals. I want cash flow, so I
Yeah.
can do what I really want to do, right? Like that's what you want. And so if you're not willing to like dive into it, if you're not willing to like put some sweat into it, right? And so many people say they want to do it, but there's such a difference. Like right now, I'm doing a very hard diet, and yesterday I had two podcasts I was doing. I was sick the whole day,
Hmm.
but I made myself a goal that I'm going to stick to this diet for 30 days, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you know what? In 25 days, it's my fifth day in. 25 days from now, I'm going to be so happy I did it because I'm going to get to the physique I had when I was 25 years old, right? And then I'm going to say, oh my God, I did it, right? And the same thing with our investing goals.
Hmm.
When we go out to do our first couple deals, it's going to be painful. You're going to get slapped around a little bit. You're going to learn. You're going to have learning lessons, but you just keep going forward with your eye on the prize. And I think that's what really changed my mindset.
Hmm.
And I still feel myself subconsciously like doubting things in my life,
Yes.
but you gotta push it away and you gotta go forward, right? Like because at the end of the day, I still feel like I'm 25, but in 8 years I'm going to be 50 years old, right? Like so, okay, at 50 years old, I want to have the financial freedom where I could, be traveling as much as you're traveling or you were traveling prior to COVID. So that's my goal. That's my why. And I want to be able to, provide and help my parents as they get older, do whatever the heck they want to do financially. Now that I'm married, I have other goals. Maybe I have a child,
Hmm.
in the future. So life
Yes. Yes.
shifted, but you come to the realization that you have to be an action taker. And I think that's the best advice. Like, go after it. Like I know what I need to do now, and it's like there's no excuse. If I don't do it and I don't get the results, it's because I didn't do it.
So true, Bo. And I mean, aren't you really sleeping well at night? Let me say that because when we accomplish goals, right? I mean, I tell everybody, right? I'm so fired up for the next 10 years, 15 years, even at the young age, what I'm at now. But the key thing is, my days go by 14 hours, 16 hours. I'm putting together some great efforts. And at the end of the night, I'm not tired. Kanchan says, oh my gosh, I mean, you just were on the phone and web call and this and meetings, all that. Aren't you tired? No, you are not. Because you have that passion. You have that passion to take action, like you said, But and meeting after meetings after meeting and compartmentalizing and delegating and bringing people into the loop and making sure that every single engine is moving forward. Like so many companies I've got now this year, I've got several things in the fire, and we're looking into e-commerce. I didn't even share that with you, Bo. So we are starting an e-commerce store, which we are really diving into because people have changed their whole behavior. It used to be 21%, 37% of the people are buying online now. 37%, not to really, so we, I mean, again, to be open minded is one thing, deciding is second thing, and leap of faith is a big thing, what you just mentioned. Leap of faith. This world is on faith. Leap of faith. You got to take that. Anybody listening to us, guys, if you're thinking, do you want to get into this passive cash flow, streams of income, or get that loan to refinance, to invest that money again, or whatever you are indecision about, write it down and look at all the pros and the cons, and then take action. So no, it was a wonderful show. I hope that the people really liked it, and those who will be watching it later on. I know we do it during the business hours, as 9:30. It's like 12:30 on the East Coast, like lunchtime. But most everybody is at home. So, again, thanks, Bo. It's such a pleasure, man.
Yeah, have a great weekend. If I don't talk to you, and
Yeah, see you next week,
yes,
everybody.
all
Yeah.
right,
Take care, guys.
all
Bye
right,
bye.
bye.
Bye bye.